K&A Custom Crafts on Facebook.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Coast to Coast.
K&A Custom Crafts on Facebook.
Welcome to the Coast to Coast Entertainment Network. I am Ace, and you're watching another episode of Sportsminute. Tonight, I have with me all my co-hosts for the evening. Number one, we'll go ahead and we'll start out with that man that we call Mr. Big B. Big B, how are you doing tonight?
Hey, doing good. Just finished up celebrating my 46th birthday on Sunday. Went to the casino this weekend. Was one game away from bringing home about $1,500. If it wasn't for the overtime game Colorado had and won, I would have had some money. But hey, that's what gambling's about. But now we get to talk sports, so
right,
glad to be back.
All right, Chris B, how are you doing tonight, my man?
Doing good. Getting ready for that World Series Game 1 Friday. Rangers are in it. Diamondbacks are in it. Two, I guess, under-the-radar teams. And we'll see what happens through 4 games, maybe 7 games. Who knows?
All right. Mr. James Gonzalez, how are you doing tonight? Big Game James.
I'm going through a whirlwind of emotions right now. It's been a week. One of my friends' mom died, and she was really good to everyone, so I'm kind of hurting about that. The news in Maine right now. But you have sports to kind of help you through things, like the NBA starting up, the World Series on Friday. I can't wait for that to commence, and we'll see what happens with that. Got NFL action coming up tomorrow as well. And my birthday's on Friday, but I'll be at work. Probably a double shift to get me through the birthday. Maybe I'll get some cake after work. I don't know.
Get some cake. All right, I love it. All right, and welcome there, Callan. Welcome in. How are you doing tonight? We hope you're having a good night too, Callan. All right, Mr. Mess Around Dave, how are you doing tonight?
I'm fan-freaking-tastic, even though my Bulls dropped game 1 of 82. Yeah. At least, I got one team to root for in Chicago that might be good this year. Although my Bears did beat the James Raiders this last weekend. I had to bring
nice
that up
win, Dave. Who saw that coming?
I didn't even.
Never pick the Raiders, America.
The battle of the backups. Anyway, we hope that we're glad you're having a good night there, mess around. We're so great. So you must have been talking about your Blackhawks, right?
Ooh.
So I was talking about the Bulls, but the Blackhawks, they lost the other night too. I actually watched the game.
Right, yeah.
I thought Bedard had a goal, but apparently they're offsides. So it got canceled. The goal got taken away.
Right. All right. Well, anyway, shall we jump into our first topic of the night? So our first topic of the night, and this is a thing that the reason I brought this up is because it was the Sunday night game, I believe. It was Nick Sirianni. You could actually hear it. Like, you could hear him in the background. You heard him tell his player, hey, go down, because it was fast pace, right? So he told his player to go down, and his player dropped, and he's like, oh. And he went down and basically was like, oh, my foot. So this brings it up. Like, how do we put this? Is this a big deal or no big deal that players fake injuries to either get a break or slow down the pace of the game or whatever? So, Big B, I'll start out with you. Is it a big deal or no big deal that players fake it?
Well, we saw this happen Monday night too, with O'Connell telling TJ to get down.
Yeah.
And I think I messaged you right away, or messaged the chat and said the Vikings should be fired. Fined.
Fined. Yeah.
So I think it is a big deal. I think they need to nip it in the butt before it gets out of hand, especially if the coaches are going to tell people to kneel down and fake the injury. It's definitely nothing that needs to happen in sports. We don't need to start faking stuff to get an extra time out. Especially in the Vikings game, he was on his way off. I think he was probably 5 yards away from get to the sideline, and O'Connell's yelling at him to get down.
Yeah.
I think it's a bad spot on the sports if they start allowing this more and more without punishment.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is too is you are a Vikings fan, and you immediately messaged me and said, "Hey man, that's not cool. Like they should be fine." So even though you're a fan of that
Yeah, that's
team,
not a
you came out and immediately said, "Hey man, that's not right." It's
it's
kind
not.
of,
It's just it kills the integrity of the game.
I was thinking the same thing.
So
Yeah,
okay. So Crispy, you agree with Big B on this?
I do. And if I didn't know what was going on, and this was brought up today, right? At this point, I would think that you would be talking about go down, meaning like go to the 1 yard line, and just stop.
Yeah.
But that's not what it is. Yeah, it ruins the integrity of the game. I've seen teams do it at least once in a while, not a lot, but I just think the whole rule should be just taken out, or not even a rule, but the whole sequence should be taken out.
Yep. So Callan's saying it's bad enough faking injuries happens in soccer. Football doesn't need to start copying soccer, and vice versa. So James, how do you feel about this?
Mm-hmm.
It's strategy. I've seen this done before when a offensive team is on a long, quick, or I shouldn't say long, but on a quick pace drive, no huddle, and they're getting yardage. A defense will, go down every once in a while. A player will just be good, and he gets a signal from the sideline saying, "Hey, go down. The drive is too successful." So I've seen this before, especially in college, where I know there's a lot of time in between, so it really sucks when you see it in college football because, the time will stop when there's, under 2 minutes to go on forward progress. So I hate when you see that in college football because there's time to substitute. There's time to do the right thing, basically. So I understand why it's done. I mean, you can't do anything about it, basically. You're not going to really ask the player if he's hurt or not. How can you ask that? The player can fake it, and then you really can't go on from there. It would take too long to actually check the person if he's faking. They would go straight to the tent or the locker room. So it's just one of those things that it's going to happen. Everybody's going to try to score. It's bad, the integrity of the game is shot, but it's part of the game. I just remember this happening. I forget how many years ago, but there was a case where 2 players simultaneously went down with the same fake injury to stop a long drive. So that's my lasting image of this happening. It's going to continue to happen. I mean, there's no way to really stop it.
I'm not saying
I kind of remember something
to stop it, but I think our point is, James, is that when you clearly hear a coach on the sideline say, "Hey, go down, go down, go down," you know that there has to be something said, like either a fine given out or something. So that's all we're saying. It's like,
no, that's a sign of a good coach, though. He's trying to get the benefit of whatever he can do to stop that drive from continuing. That's a good coaching move. That's legal right now.
It's legal right now, but
Yeah.
I'm saying though, like it kind of it ruins the integrity of the game, though.
Yeah, nothing you can do though.
All right,
Well,
so mess around. What
the
is
NFL wants to
your
protect
thoughts
the field
about guys who fake injuries and go down to slow down the game?
Are you talking about the thing that happened in the game where the coach got caught saying it, like they heard him saying on the camp mic or whatever?
So Sirianni told an Eagles player to go down, and then O'Connell told Hawkinson to go down, and you could clearly hear them saying, "Go down, go down, go down." So you can clearly hear them saying, "Go down." So you're telling them to like slow down the pace of the game, fake the injury, So, what's your thoughts?
You know, the thing is, it's like James said, it's not like it's not never happened before. The thing is, these guys got caught saying it. I mean, it happens all the time. You see it all the time. Players fake the injury to stop a driver to get subs in so they can get fresh guys in and whatnot. So they're not all tired and worn out. The only difference is these guys got caught saying it. So it's not like it's never happened before. They just got caught. That's the only big difference.
No, but I'm saying, do you agree with it?
No, I don't agree with it at all. I think it has no place in the game at all. I mean, like you and Coach said, it ruins the integrity of the game. There's no place for it at all in football.
It does. If you're going to play football, you should play football with integrity and not, okay, we're going to slow these guys down, so I'm going to fake it.
Hey, Ace, it sounds like you're talking like a referee.
What?
Because you are a referee.
I know. I am.
Has this happened during the game that you refed or no?
Absolutely, it has. Absolutely.
Yeah. Can you tell the player is faking it or not?
Majority of the time, I can. And I can tell you, once or twice when I'm standing there and the play is clearly over and the kid stands up and he's getting ready to cover the receiver and they're going at a fast pace and then the kid drops and the kid's like, oh, my ankle. And I'm like, really? Really? You were just fine a second ago. And now they're speeding up and you just drop. Are you serious?
That's why I wanted to ask you.
You don't think I can see that? I can clearly see that you're faking it. So Callan's saying, I wouldn't be surprised if the competition committee reviews this over the off season, especially if it becomes more and more of an issue.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's where we're getting out there. All right. So moving on to our next topic, it involves Michigan again. We just had a conversation about Michigan a few weeks ago. Well, actually a while ago with Jim Harbaugh getting suspended for 4 games because of the illegal recruiting. Now it's coming out saying that, Michigan was sending certain staffers to college games so they could get their various signals. So kind of like another Spygate thing going on, but with college. Now, before we get into it, Deion Sanders actually had something to say about this too. And they actually asked Deion about it too. And Deion's like, okay, so if any team wants to, like, I could send the other team my playbook. They can read it. They can know my signals. But just because they know it doesn't mean that they're going to stop it. They still have to stop it. But I get what he's talking about. But still, this is the second time that Michigan has been busted for. Hold on. That Michigan has been busted for something. And so I'm looking at this going, does this bode well for Jim Harbaugh? So last time I started with Big B. So James, I'll start out with you.
Well, I saw that, there was a couple of things that, they were caught doing. The first thing, though, wasn't, illegal at all. It was basically the players, seeing what the other team was signaling and then telling the team what to do, basically. And that happens all the time, though. That's why you see all those, bed sheets covering the signals or the signs from the coaches or whatever. So that's fair game. The problem was you had a Patriots situation where you had people from Michigan going to other games that had nothing to do with Michigan other from the fact that they were going to play Michigan ahead in the schedule. And that's illegal. So we know that part is illegal. But the first thing is fair game. You just have to cover your signals better or, silent count, whatever it takes. But try not to get – like the same thing happened with baseball. You try not to, give away your signs, but eventually someone at second base is going to, get your sign and then make a little tap on the helmet or do something. But sign stealing has been a thing forever, so that's not a big deal. But the second part is a big deal, where you had people go to games, which is illegal with NCAA rules. So I know controversy, it never shies away from Jim Harbaugh in Michigan. It's a thing with college sports. It's supposed to be, hierarchy and everything by the book, but it's never been that way. So I'm not surprised by this. I don't think I want to say, I don't know what happens after this, because his legacy basically is, hey, did you beat Ohio State? Cool. Did you win a bowl game? No, you didn't win that yet. So I think it comes down to if he wins a bowl game. But then, depending on how bad the NCAA feels that, hey, you had those people go watch the games, if that becomes a big infraction, maybe you get some wins taken away from you, a whole season away taken from you. And, I know that from the USC days, where a whole season was taken away from the Trojans. So I don't know if it gets to that point. And then maybe it hurts Harbaugh in a way where he has to do like Pete Carroll and just go to the NFL and take whatever job is out there. Remember, though, he did spoil his chance with the Vikings. He came in too brash into his job interview with Minnesota. So for now, we don't know what it does with his legacy, but if it gets worse, he'll probably leave to the NFL.
Yeah, but it makes me wonder, though, too. It's like if there's like a sign stealing scandal, it makes me wonder if the NFL teams are going to be like, maybe get scared off a little bit too, because they're like, we don't want any part of that too. Like if he's involved in that, they're like, we would rather not, because you always hear, the same thing with the Astros forever, because they had that season of stealing signs and nobody would let it go, regardless of a new manager being there or whatever. It was all still there. So it could be Harbaugh leaving Michigan and going to the NFL, but then everyone's like, oh, he could be sending staff out there to steal signs right now. And so would the NFL teams actually want to deal with that, is the thing. And they may not want to. So mess around, what is your thoughts on the Michigan sign stealing scandal?
First of all, let's not badmouth the next head coach of the Chicago Bears, okay? Just throwing it out there. Harbaugh's going to go to Chicago. He's going to be my coach. I really hope he does go to Chicago, because we need a coach like him. This is stealing, sending staff to other places. Just like James said, you can't do that. That's what do you learn? Did he go to Bill Belichick class, stealing signs 101 or whatever? Jesus. He learned from the Astros,
Maybe.
one of the two.
Well,
but you're right. That could
Astros, no.
Huh?
That could follow him. It could tarnish. It's definitely going to tarnish his legacy, whatever legacy he had at Michigan, because he really hasn't done anything there. So, but yeah, it's a bad look for Harbaugh.
It is. It's a bad look. Even though Harbaugh's saying, hey, I didn't know anything about it. Come on, man. You're the head coach of the football team. You're gonna know.
Told you, Bill Belichick would have won.
All right. So, Big B, what is your thoughts on the sign stealing scandal?
Man, that's tough. I mean, I guess I didn't know it was illegal to send people to other games and kind of scout them.
Mm-hmm.
I guess if you can figure out the signals, and when they hold up two fingers, they're going to do this or whatever the signs are. We've talked about it before in baseball. Guy on second, he's going to try to see what the pitch is. That's why I think Callan just put up there a couple
about the pitch
comments
comp,
ago.
yeah.
That's why the pitches. Yeah. So it's tough, because you try to get the edge, and I think if you can figure out what their signs are. I don't know if it's cheating or not. You're trying to figure out we had a week one of the NFL season. Baker Mayfield said he knew what Minnesota's defensive calls were by halftime. Okay, if you're that smart, good. I mean, it's just a way to get a heads up. I mean, if it is illegal to send people to other games to do it, okay, then yeah, they're wrong there. But if they can, I mean, maybe they can see something on film. Maybe I don't know. I mean, so I don't know. I'm kind of in about 50-50 on it, because you're trying to get the edge, and if that's one way to do it, within the game, I guess you're fine. But I mean, I guess if it's illegal to send them to other games to get it done, then okay, you're breaking the rules. But so
I know
we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, it's like when you mentioned that, and then you mentioned that like last year. Do you remember the Rodgers thing against Tampa Bay? It was a 2-point conversion at the end of the game, and he came out and he's like, sometimes the jumbotron shows things that they probably shouldn't show, and I saw something on the jumbotron, and I relayed the information to the coaches, and everyone's like, well, what'd you see? And he's like, I really don't want to mention what I saw, but sometimes it shows things that you really shouldn't see. And so in situations like that, that's not really, their fault if you're going to show something. But
attention to detail.
But sending somebody to games, when you send somebody to a game, that's when it's different. Is when you're sending people to actually go look at the signs. That's kind of when the integrity at that point has been like, okay, now you have the integrity out the window because that integrity is now gone.
Well, like I said, I didn't know it was illegal. I was
It's
just
not.
like, really? It's illegal to send scouts to teams?
No,
They weren't scouts, they were staffers.
Yeah, but from my understanding, that you can send people there, but they're more there to check out the field, the conditions, kind of
not do what they were doing.
Part.
So,
right.
Crispy, what's your thoughts?
I mean, you can really point it out. You could kind of say that. Remember, Chip Kelly had the actual signs and did the pictures, but no one said it then. I mean, we've seen it in different sports. Is it bad? Yes. I don't know if it will change. Everybody's trying to find that one piece to fit the puzzle, and they just got to be more clever and use what they got, use resources they got on hand.
All right, welcome in, Callan. We're glad you're here now, so you can give us your thoughts on the sign stealing scandal.
Yeah, I don't know, guys. It's kind of a very gray area, I'd say, with what's going on. Honestly, I just kind of feel like it's a very bad like stain on Jim Harbaugh's season. I mean, he's already missed time earlier in the season for, the recruiting allegations. Then it comes out he was buying a lunch for one of the kids that was recruiting or that was visiting Ann Arbor, and now this comes up. So it's kind of like, in a way, it's back now all of a sudden strike two. Like, I kind of feel like we're entering a bit of a dangerous area with Jim Harbaugh this year, where he's already kind of, in a way, got 2 strikes on him. I kind of feel like that if something else pops up, sign stealing or some other weird scandal kind of comes out of the blue within the next couple of weeks, before year's end, I'm not so sure about Harbaugh's tenure beyond this season if there is more coming in wake of what has already gone on. Again, the sign stealing is one thing. What I gathered was that they were sending a staff member who would put tickets in for like family or friends under a fake name or a different name. They would use those tickets and they would one group would sit on one sideline to scout, spy on one team from that sideline, and vice versa. They would send another side, to sit opposite side to scout the opposite team. But in the long run, though, even though it's been a great year for Michigan, like their second true great year under Jim Harbaugh, it's kind of in a way, though, guys, getting clouded almost like the 17 Astros were clouded because of the whole trash can ordeal and how that they were stealing their signs, whether it was cameras in center field. And now I just kind of feel like, though, that even though the Wolverines have had a great year, they're being overshadowed by mistake after mistake so far, and not just on Coach Harbaugh, but by this whole Michigan coaching staff, whether or not that anything comes to light with this scandal. But the fact, though, that Harbaugh's had 2 strikes on him in one school year, literally mere weeks after coming back from his first 3-game suspension, I mean, I really feel like if there's something else out there, Michigan might have to consult or think of something to maybe finding a way maybe out of this contract, because especially I think too, like I think James or Chris even said about maybe Harbaugh having to like defect to the NFL to maybe get his name clear, him and Carroll and Chip Kelly. I just kind of worry more that if more pimples prop up like on prom night with this season for Michigan, then I don't know really if the school will tolerate this, if the boosters will tolerate this, because they're having a great year. Now it might be overshadowed by the fact of like 17 Astros kind of comes to mind. Like if somehow, some way Michigan, wins the Big Ten championship and then goes on a run to win the national title, who's not to say that there's a fan base out there that says, well, they cheated. This is like the Astros in 2017. And then I think that's where the plug may get pulled, because then you may have to talk about, well, look at what happened with SC in 05 and with Pete Carroll, where they vacated a Heisman Trophy winner. They wiped off a national title. Like, could that be a thing at this stage? So we're entering a gray area, and it's a little bit, kind of not shocking, but a little bit like sad, I'd say, for, a guy who's been valued by his alma mater to come and fix their program. And he's done so finally after those first couple years. But now all of a sudden, like, it just feels like there's a giant cloud hanging over Michigan football now because of what's happened to Coach Harbaugh in this season alone from the get-go.
All right, so thank you for that, Callan. Thanks everybody for the talk there on Michigan. Rolling on into our next topic here, and so to kind of explain this a little bit more, Ron Rivera was asked about Sam Howell, and they said, "Is Sam Howell going to be your starting quarterback?" And Ron Rivera is like, "Well, he's our starting quarterback for right now. You never know when things are going to change." So my point is if you're a coach and you're trying to back up your quarterback and you're trying to give your quarterback confidence, is it really the right time for a coach in the middle of a season to come out and be like, well, he's our starter for right now? I mean, but something can change. At what point is it like, all right, maybe you should have waited? Like, you shouldn't do that publicly when the media asked you that. You should do it, in the privacy of your office. You can talk to them about it and be like, hey, right now we're going to do it, but you have to show improvement. I don't think coming out and saying that in front of the media is right. So, James, I'll start again with you. Do you think it's right for a coach to come out and say that?
Well, Rivera, he's been saying some crazy stuff the last couple of years. Remember last year, he didn't know that his team was eliminated after a loss. Yeah. And this was like week 16, I want to say. And he didn't even know. You would figure the head coach would know if you're still in the playoff race or not, the one that's leading you out there on the field. So I'm not surprised by this. Also, somehow, I believe he's the man that's been sacked so many times this year.
Yeah, over 40.
Record time. He's going for the record. Or the offensive line is letting maybe the record happen. So it's a thing, if you don't give him protection, he's going to get sacked, and therefore he's not going to look so good, right? So it's mostly on Rivera for doing this, of course. It's wrong, the things he said before, and it's wrong now. You want to have confidence in the guy, and the quarterback's going to feel that to say, okay, he believes in me, the team believes in me, now let's go do it. But right now, with Washington, they got rid of Heineke just because of this, because of Sam Howell. And I think people wonder now, oh, maybe we should have kept Heineke. Maybe that's what Rivera's thinking right now. Well, you can't bring back, Tyler Heineke. So, yeah, it's wrong for him to publicly say that. But I think, too, maybe he's just running out of things to say and of what he could do with the team and that quarterback position. Maybe he's just running out of options and he's running out of ideas, and he just blurted it out basically maybe when he should have kept it to himself, because you really want to act like you know what you're doing out there, especially through the media. You don't want to let certain things go out like this. It divides the team. It hurts your team. It hurts the man at the most important position on the team. Mm-hmm. So you don't really want to do that. You don't want to mess with people's mindsets as they're really trying to, play well. So, yeah, it's wrong what he said. And I wouldn't be surprised if they don't make the playoffs. He'll be gone.
Yeah, and so because you got to think about like Robert Saleh with Wilson. Wilson was what had been terrible, and everyone kept saying switch, and he's like, no, Wilson is my quarterback. I have the confidence in Wilson. Even if he didn't, he wasn't going to come out and be like, nope, he's terrible, so we're going to know. He said he's our quarterback. We're sticking with Zach, and I think as a head coach, that's how you have to be. So, Big B, do you agree with James that the way that Rivera approached that situation was wrong, because you have to show confidence in your quarterback?
I totally agree with James, and that happened here in Minnesota. I think in 2018 when Case Keenum was here. Coach who was Zimmerman did not want to announce Case as a starter. It was a week by week basis, and every time Case was a starter, it was like he was trying to find some reason not to announce him as a quarterback. So, yeah, Rivera shouldn't have came out publicly. He just, I think Callan said behind closed doors and just dealt with it back then. And, when the name is called, if you, don't want him as a starter, don't put him as a starter. But, I don't think, like you said, Ace, too, is you got to show confidence, in your players. And, if you can't name them the starter, then, maybe definitely don't come public with it. But, just talk to them behind closed door, I think. I think we're very definitely 100% in the wrong for coming out publicly and not sticking with his guy or a guy, I guess. So.
All right. Mesteron, how about you? And I know we talked about it because, the Bears played the Commanders too. And that night that you saw Howell play, you're like, oh, he really wasn't, he didn't have a terrible night. He didn't really play all that bad. But does it still surprise you the way that Rivera approached it?
Yeah, he should have taken, I know Callan remembers this, back in 2005, he should have taken the Lovie Smith approach when he was asked about Grossman. Grossman is our starting quarterback. Grossman is our starter. He kept saying that over and over. Rex Grossman is our guy. He should have just said that Sam Howell is our guy. Just to give him that confidence. That's terrible. You're going to sink the guy's confidence because he's not going to, like James and Brandon said, he's not going to think he's got the confidence as a coach. So it's not going to make him play any better. It's going to be like, oh, if I make one mistake, I'm going to be pulled. So you got to show the guy support. If you don't support the guy, get him out there and get someone else in there if you don't think he's the guy.
Right, exactly. All right. So Callan, how do you feel about?
I've long always said that you need to have a ride or die. Like if you're going to name someone the starter, then they're your starter, barring injury, barring them being sick. They are who you roll out there every given game day. And the comments for one thing from Coach Ron Rivera with the Commanders, but also I kind of think, though, if you're a team like Washington or a team that's with their licks, not figuratively of them getting sacked every other play, but let them at least get their feet wet, during the course of a regular season. Forget like the practices and running drills against your defense, but let them get the feel of playing against the opposition. Yes, it may in fact be ugly if they get sacked every other play, unless you're Daniel Jones or Justin Fields always getting sacked, every other play, it seems like. But in regards, though, to what Rivera said, though, is I agree, though, fellas, there's time and place, or a time in place, if you're going to name someone your quarterback, or in this case, in Sam Howell's case, if you're not playing up to your full potential, there's a right way to go about doing this. And it's not going through the media and making it public about, well, we're going to bench this guy. Handle it internally. That'd be, in a ways, it would remind me or make me think of like, if one of us at our job site, did something wrong and we got chewed out, or we got, kind of like put on blast, as the kids would say, in front of all of our coworkers. And if our boss didn't bring us to into their office or pulled us aside and did it one-on-one, like, hey, you need to step your game up, kind of in a way, I feel like that this could have been handled in a much better situation behind closed doors in his office, but not in front of the Washington Post or local media with radio and television, where they can, kind of in a way take what you say and make it all the wrong context in regards to, whatever it may have been. But I do think there's time and place. But I also feel like, though, that once you name someone the starting quarterback, especially I think in football, if you're making them their starter, that is your starter, regardless if they play terrible week 1 or week 5 or week 8 or week 16. It's almost like your ride or die friend, basically. Like, your quarterback is your ride or die, barring injury, barring them being sick, barring them being out for the season. There really should be no reason why you can't let them play every week, though. So I think that the whole situation could have been handled 1,000 times better, I think, than what Ron Rivera did to Sam Howell over the course of the past couple of days and not the past week.
Yeah, so I would agree with you for the season, though. If he plays bad for that season, the next season, yes, you can move on. But
Absolutely.
But if you come out at the beginning and say he's your starter, at least give him a season. But after the season,
give them a chance.
Move on. After the season, then move on. Be like, hey, last year we gave you a shot. It wasn't great, so we're going to go ahead and go another direction. And
absolutely, I concur 100%.
All right, Crispy, your thoughts on Sam Howell?
I mean, I was looking at his stats earlier, and he's only like 36 sacks more. He only needs 36 more sacks to pass Carr. Yeah. Derek Carr from Houston in his rookie year. So, I mean, give him a chance, but I think you need another quarterback next season. I don't know why you got rid of Heineke. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I don't know why. He was better than how I thought.
Yeah, but we're talking about the situation of coming out and publicly saying it, and that's not the way you approach a situation.
No,
like
you have to say he's our guy. He's our guy. Even if he's not your guy, you have to come out publicly and say he's your guy. Give him confidence. So that way, if you do attempt to trade him, if you feel that way, he has confidence that wherever he goes, he's the guy.
Mm-hmm. All right. So thanks for that. Now going into our next, what inspired this next topic? And I want to tell you what inspired this. This was a interview that I saw with Ryan Fitzpatrick, and they were asking him, and they said, "Hey, what is your distaste for on Tom Brady?" And Fitzpatrick said, "This is the reason why I don't." He said, because for years when I played in the AFC East, for years I played in the East, they would always come out and kick our ass every year. So he's like, so my focus was, hey, I need to really beat him. So he said the one year I played on the Jets, I came out and I beat him. And the first time I beat him, what happened? He never came out to the middle of the field. He never shook my hand. He never said good game. He's like, and for that, it just rubbed me the wrong way. He said, because every other game, every time he kicked our ass, I always walked out in the middle of the field. I shook his hand every single time, and I always said, good game. You know, I hope you stay healthy and all this. He's like, but I didn't get any of that. I beat him the first time. There was no handshakes. There was nothing. I beat him again. There was no handshakes. There was no nothing. He just walked off the field and walked in the locker room. So the next conversation, or the next topic, I should say, is it wrong for a player to just walk off the field without shaking a hand after the game is over? And Big B, do you think it's wrong?
Oh, I mean, yes and no. I mean, I think it is wrong strongly, but there could be those times where you just have a bad game and, you know, just want to get to the locker room and collect your thoughts. You know, maybe go after you collect your thoughts, go into the other opponent's locker room and, you know, go get a good game. And I guess it all depends on how bad you play. I mean, you know, there's probably plenty of kickers that, you know, miss the game-winning points and just want to forget about it. So
Gary Anderson.
They probably, yeah, exactly. So I just think there's a time and a place for it. So yeah, I think it's more wrong, yes, but I think if, you know, player's having a bad game, he just wants to get off the field. And now if we're talking leaving early like Randy Moss has and in the past, yeah, that's definitely wrong.
LeBron.
You know, if you're
LeBron,
yeah, you just end up leaving because, you know, you just want to get in and get your shower done and collect your thoughts after a bad game. Okay.
Well, I think the problem is like you got to look at the side of Fitzpatrick's side too, because he's like, look, he kicked our ass so many times that I was always out there saying, hey, good game. I shook his hand every single time, but the one time I do, he doesn't do it, and so for him, he's like, yeah. It rubbed me the wrong way. It feels like, oh, I'm nothing. Like, oh yeah, like, okay, it's not even a congratulations. I don't know. It's just, to me, I feel like it's not
people the wrong way, and I get it. I get it why it would, you know. So, like I said, I think it's, you know, definitely big disrespect. But again, you know, is there occasion or I have a bad game and I just want to get back to the locker room? Of course. You know, so, and then maybe if I see him in the parking lot or something, go congratulate him and say, hey, just had a bad game, just want to get off the field. So, you know.
All right. James, I know I saw the look every time we were talking about it, and you're like,
I'm afraid I'm gonna get, you know, slipped by this. Well, I don't know if that's a good term to use, but they're professionals and they can do whatever they want. And Brady, LeBron, they have a thing where if they don't win, they're not going to be nice. You know, they work hard, they play hard, and well, sometimes, but I guess it depends what time of the year it is. But they want to win every game, and when they don't, they'll feel a certain way. So it doesn't matter when it comes down to professionals. There's money, there's ego. That's just part of the professional game. But, you know, in the high school game, middle school, elementary, you know, college, it's different. You're supposed to have that, you know, sportsmanship and all that crap where you have to shake hands. You have to, you know, acknowledge people at the end of the game. This is just different in the professional ranks. You know, I was just thinking about that because, you know, I don't want to bash LeBron so much, but I can remember all the times that he left the court. You know, was it 2010 or no? Wait. 2009 against Orlando. He didn't shake anybody's hand. Yeah, 2010 in Boston, he left the court. Pretty much every time he lost the finals, he didn't stick around for anything. So, and then last year he probably did the same thing against Denver. But Brady, he's been known to do that. Why? It's not a surprise. Like I've seen that before, and he's been scrutinized about it. But guess what? He's won championships. It doesn't matter because he's won championships. It doesn't matter. But yeah, it's a different level when you talk about high school, college, totally different. So I don't care if a player does it or not. You're just used to it, and you just go on with the victory basically, and you just feel good about it.
What's up, Warren? We hope you're having a good night. And I know Tim Hendricks is saying his arrogance and ego pisses me off to the end of the earth. And Tim's saying it's not wrong. It's personal preference. And then Warren's saying, "What's up, guys?" Well, to me though, like if I'm in that situation and it happens though, I feel like the person's almost showing me that, hey, I'm better than you, and I don't need to shake your hand. And so that's why it would rub me the wrong way, because I'm like, you think you're better than me because you beat me so many times I got you once that I'm not good enough for you to come out here and shake my hand? Like that's where I would feel like, okay, that would kind of piss me off. So, Callan, I saw you shaking your head at the very beginning, so I feel like you're kind of in agreement with me in a way that it's wrong.
Yeah, I agree with Tim that it's more personal preference, but I also think though that Brady losing, LeBron losing, Kobe losing, they feel like it is an embarrassment on themselves that they lost more than it is the fact of like, well, we lost the game. As James said, that they're perfectionists. Like they want to go out there and win every game and bring home, all the money and bring home, bring the bacon home, no pun intended to Chris's nickname. But then when they lose, they feel like they've embarrassed themselves and embarrassed their, like I just remember Bryce Harper telling reporters after the D-backs beat him last night that he felt like he let the whole city of Philadelphia down when he didn't get a hit off Callum McClurg's former teammate Kevin Ginkel last night in the bottom half of the seventh, with that, lazy fly ball he hit, that he felt like he let the entire city of Philadelphia down in that moment. And that in a way it feels embarrassing when you don't deliver, like you don't bring home the championship or you don't get that big clutch hit in that moment. And, I get the fact of like, brushing people off if you lose or even if you win. And I was always a guy, whether win or lose, I'd go out there and, show some love to the other team, whether I had teammates, former teammates playing on that team or not, back when I was in high school and stuff. And, at the college level, I see it all the time, that all the kids will, shake hands or whatnot and everything else going on and things of that nature. And, maybe, and I will say that, despite all the stuff though that's been going on, like, with how Deion Sanders has kind of maybe turned some coaches off though, I do think though that even despite like maybe what's been said on the bulletin board when it comes to the Buffaloes playing, that Deion finds a way to go out there and find the opposing coach and shake their hand and say, hey, good game, good luck rest of the way, stuff like that. Even after coaches have basically like in a way put him through the meat grinder because of what he's done, with the Buffaloes. But then, and I hate to shove hockey down everyone's throat though, but look at how the Stanley Cup playoffs always come to a conclusion. Every single series, win or lose, every single player on that team goes and shakes the head coach's hand. Like they all shake hands after they've gone out there and beaten the living daylights out of each other for 4, 5, 6, or 7 games every single round. And even in defeat, the old saying of, I forget the exact quote or the exact phrase, but, being, happy in victory or even happy in defeat, though, going out there, even after you lose the Stanley Cup championship, you go out there and you shake every single player's hand, win, lose, or draw or whatnot. But, and I think Warren's right, though. He says it's a tough thing to do when you lose, but it's a part of the game. But kids view these athletes, and if they don't, and if the kids don't think that's what they can do as well, then kids are going to basically copy. We always talk about these athletes being role models and stuff and people to look up to, whether, people nowadays agree with that stance or not. Yes, Tim, it was be gracious in defeat. So, I do see where Fitzpatrick's coming from, though, with like, I've been getting my butt kicked and handed to me on a silver platter every year by Brady. Yet that one time I finally get him, he doesn't have the common decency as a man, forget being a player, but as a man, to go and congratulate me on being the better man this particular Sunday, Monday, or Thursday over the course of this long NFL season. So I get the bitter taste, though, but at the end of the day, you probably should be used to it if it's Brady, LeBron James. I don't really remember Kobe Bryant ever leaving the floor early, maybe with the one exception of when they lost to the Celtics in the 08 final, where I think he left before they really got a chance to really, congratulate the Celtics and stuff like that. But I think Tim's right. It's personal preference. I think Warren's right, though, that, kids maybe will look at that and maybe start kind of like popping off like Shador does with the whole, watch flex thing if they win or, stupid crap like that. But at the end of the day, though, you would think, though, that you could separate the athlete from the human being, though, in that moment, like Fitzpatrick is saying, though, of like, hey, I got you this time, buddy, but yet you don't have the cojones to come and say congratulations when yet I've been doing this every time you've beaten me. I'm being the bigger man after I lose, yet you don't, or you can't pay your fellow quarterbacks back by being the bigger person when you lose. So, I think it is what it is, though, but I don't think things will change, Sally, with LeBron, especially if the Lakers keep losing games, which I hope that they do, honestly, and stuff like that. But I really don't know, fellas. Like, it's kind of, in a way, a very gray area, double-edged sword kind of ordeal when stuff like this happens.
It is. All right, Chris B., how about you?
No, I mean, if you did it once, I'll probably let it slide. But after that, I don't know. But if you kept doing it, but you called or we talked after the game, then that's one thing too. But that's kind of a touchy kind of subject sometimes.
It is. It can be a very, very touchy subject. And I saved this last topic for last because when I read this, I'm like, this is kind of an interesting one. But I could foresee this, like I did foresee this happening because I know it's been talked about before. But they were talking about, exactly where could it go, and we're talking about the expansion in the NBA that they're saying it very well could happen. And they're talking about the last two places. The two places that are high on the radar right now is Seattle and Las Vegas. Those are the two places that they're really focused on. So when I saw that, I'm like, really? Seattle's going to be a thing? Well, it could potentially be a thing again. So that's going to be interesting. So, James, your thoughts on the possible expansion, Seattle or Las Vegas?
Well, the NBA is waiting for the new television deal to come up, with ABC, ESPN, ABC having it right now. They're just waiting to see who will outbid each other to get that. And then sometime after 2025, there should be a deal done where both cities get their teams. The only thing I wish for is that, Clay Bennett, the owner of the Oklahoma City Thunder, gives the Sonics trademark and all the records, all the history to the Seattle franchise and call them the Supersonics again. And I think that'd be perfect. If you go to Seattle, make sure they're called the Supersonics. They have a beautiful arena there in Climate Pledge Arena. So I would love for that to happen. Las Vegas, it's funny because they already have T-Mobile Arena, the home of the Golden Knights. That's not good enough. They're going to build their own NBA arena and ready for that. But, I think the NBA is just waiting for that new TV deal, and then it'll get going. And it means more money for the owners. It means more places to visit. Everybody wants to go to Vegas eventually. That's why that in-season tournament is in Las Vegas this year. But, man, I'm kind of looking forward to it. And another thing about Vegas, too, you're going to have all these teams around Las Vegas. And what I mean by that, and all the fans. So you got Phoenix to the south. dead
Salt
south.
Lake City.
And then you got Salt Lake City to the north. And then you have Denver to the east. You have the Lakers and Clippers to the southwest. You have Sacramento and Golden State, northwest. And then you have Portland in the northwest, along with Seattle. So you have everybody joining in. I mean, they won't all be in the same division, but you'll have all those fans clamoring to Las Vegas. Sadly, like the Raiders and their home games, they've been overtaken by the opponent's fans. You'll probably see that in the NBA where, hey, the New York Knicks are playing, in Las Vegas. We got to go take a weekend off and go watch that. So it'll be very lucrative for the NBA, not only Vegas, but to have Seattle back in the association again.
All right, so Jason says that why Seattle? They failed last time, and then he also says the NBA does way better in small markets. They should go to a small market somewhere in the Midwest, in my opinion. So maybe Wichita, St. Louis, or Kansas City.
Mm-mm.
So, Big B, what's your thoughts on the possible expansion?
For me, I don't think Seattle should have ever lost that franchise. I know
They were taken.
Yeah, they were taken. So I think with James's first point, if Seattle gets a new franchise, they should get the rights to the Sonics and all that, and roll with that. Vegas, yeah, why not? I mean, it's growing. It's finally getting sport teams. I hate to disagree with J-Mac, but I don't think they do that well in small markets. I mean, here and there, they probably do. I mean, but also it depends on how you market your teams. So, that could be a big thing too. But, I could see J-Mac's other point, Wichita, St. Louis, Kansas City. Those could be some other destinations, but NBA is going to do what it does. I think James mentioned it's all about the mighty dollar, where the owners feel that they can make the most money. It's going to be the teams that get the crack, and that might be 2025 when the new TV deal come out. But I think we'll be at 32 teams here soon.
All right, Callan, your opinion.
Yeah, no, we're going to be at 32 NBA teams in a couple of years because they've seen what the NHL has done. They have seen what Major League Baseball might do eventually if they ever choose to expand. As much as I hate to disagree with J-Mac, but the NBA struggles in very, very small markets. I mean, you're talking to a guy who's had 2 NBA teams in his market back in the 60s and the early 70s who both left for Houston and for Los Angeles. Because no one here cared about the NBA. Yeah, we had Elvin Hayes and Calvin Murphy and Lloyd Worldby-Free and Bill Walton play here for the Rockets and Clippers. But if they weren't playing the Lakers or Celtics or Sixers, no one in this town cared. And the fact that I still hear people here wanting an NBA franchise, knowing damn well that the Lakers and Clippers can both say, no, that's our TV market. That's not going to happen. It's not going to. And also, St. Louis makes money still off of the Indiana Pacers joining the joining the NBA from the ABA over the Spirits of St. Louis. There's no way that they want to go back to those markets, though it's a great idea. But then again, Wichita would not be a big enough venue, market-wise, media-wise, fan base-wise. Kansas City, maybe, but that's more of like an NHL expansion or relocation city. St. Louis will never get an NBA team back either because they're making money off the Pacers when, like I said, between the ABA-NBA merger. Seattle didn't really fail. They had their team literally clawed out of their city, almost like what happened with the Sacramento Kings because of their arena. Now that they have their old arena, Climate Pledge Arena, formerly Key Arena, back up to snuff, that's where you put the team. And then Vegas, obviously, Stanley Cup champs, back-to-back WNBA championships, 20,000 seat arena, is basically coming from the Oakview Group and from Jerry Bruckheimer's firm who owns the Kraken. They're going to build a 20,000 seat arena somewhere in Vegas. Maybe LeBron and Shaq are part of the ownership group and stuff of that caliber. Call them the Las Vegas Jacks for all that I know, because you can't call them aces or gamblers or anything with gambling. I don't know what else you can call them. And I agree that the league does well in places where there's one team, J-Mac, but then again, New York and LA are the two biggest media moguls out there, so you're not breaking up those two markets between the Nets and the Knicks and the Lakers and Clippers. Yeah, the Clippers are moving out of Staples to go to Inglewood, but they're still going to be in the LA television market. So I get the fact of cities should only have one team, but when you have media markets like New York and Los Angeles and Chicago who have all the, assets at their disposal, you're not going to break that up because you see the dollar signs there. So I do see Seattle working this time around, better ownership, better, the arena's been, refurbished. The Kraken have been selling out home games for the past 3 years. They had a great playoff run last year. I, for a long time, thought the NHL should have been in Seattle. But again, the Sonics at one point in time, didn't want another winter tenant taking away their prime game nights for the Sonics. So, now maybe that they can come back. I hope to heck, though, too, that the Thunder at least let the Sonics name and lore, come back and things like that. And J-Mac, I don't think that the Sonics comeback is going to really affect the Blazers because they're two separate states. And, Portland and Seattle hate each other's guts. Look at how the rivalry is on the soccer field between the Timbers and the Sounders. I don't think they're going to really lose sleep over the Sonics coming back after almost, 15 years of being dormant or being in Oklahoma City. And then, Las Vegas, I know that James said about maybe games with the Lakers or the Suns or the Jazz being overtaken by their fans. I don't think that'll be the case, though, because Vegas is going to be looking for stuff to do, for the, off season from the summer, and the Golden Knights have really proved that in 7 years with a Stanley Cup championship. And they've also proven that as well with, being a very great great organization, being well run by Bill Foley. They've won 3 or 4 division titles, 2 conference championships. They got a Stanley Cup under their belt. Then I think on the basketball side with Vegas, though, the Summer League's been there forever. The Lakers have always gone there for a preseason game. They've drawn well. And then, of course, the Aces have won back-to-back WNBA titles. Yeah, they're playing at, Michelob Ultra Arena at Mandalay Bay. But already, though, you've seen, though, that basketball can work, summertime with Summer League. And I think that it can even work, though, over the winter. And at the same time, though, it's a matter of time, though, that every league, I feel like, expands. I've been still hearing rumblings that the NHL might go beyond 32 teams. I don't know how they're going to make that work with, maybe they go back to, go to Quebec or go to Atlanta again. But, I think every league, though, is going to look for expansion. MLS is coming here, guys, in 2 years. And sadly, MLS has already knocked out the AAA club that was playing here in the San Diego Loyal after Sunday because they just happened to sadly lose in extra time on a, backbreaking goal in the last minute of extra time. And the franchise had to fold because of financial losses and stadium problems. What else is new with that in San Diego? So, I think it's more about the media deal, but also I think it's two markets. One that surely should not have lost their franchise in in Seattle. And then I think another market, though, in Vegas that I believe has finally gotten their due diligence when it comes to sports. Finally, again, successful run with the Golden Knights. The Aces are also very successful. I know the Raiders are not the best, though, but it's the Raider brand being in Vegas. They always draw. They got Formula One going there. They've had the NBA Summer League there. They have baseball coming there eventually with the Oakland Athletics, and stuff of that caliber. So, I'm all for it. And I also think, though, as well, anytime a league can bring in new fans, especially like in a market like Vegas, you also can get fans back, I think, even though that there's been that long, 10, 15 year, backlash similar to how the NFL in San Diego has been very ill received since the Chargers left, though, that maybe people can maybe turn down their grudges against the NBA for taking the Sonics away now if they do in fact come back, in a couple of years, though. So anything to engage a new fan base like Las Vegas, an old fan base who had a title in 79, I believe, with the Sonics. Anything to bring people into the sport is great. And I think I already saw a fictional map of a 32-team NBA map. It'd be Lakers, Clippers, Suns, and the Vegas Jacks, the Vegas Dealers, the Vegas, whatever you want to call them, in one small division of the Southwest or Pacific Division already. So they already have those proposals out there of like adding the team in Vegas and what it would look like with a 32 team division or 32 team league, I should say, in 4 team divisions. But regardless, it will. I think we'll see some announcements they'll prop up maybe late in the 2024, maybe late this season, maybe over the off season going into 24-25. But certainly, if it happens, great. Another league expands and we get to add one new market and bring back an old franchise out of the NBA graveyard of defunct franchises after like 15 years. So I'm all for it.
All right. So thank you for that. We are at the point now to where we're going to go ahead and wrap this up because we are on our final thoughts here for the evening. So, Big B, what was your final thoughts?
It's always great to talk sports. Again, I look forward to this week in sports, see what we bring up next week, and just keep checking out C2C all week long. Got different stuff, different shows, hopefully new shows coming up. Just keep following us.
All right, Crispy.
Yeah, thanks everyone for watching and tuning in. On deck this week and morning tailgate. NFL season's getting crazy. World Series is here, so we'll talk about that and make sure to stay with Coast to Coast.
All right, love it. All right, Kellen, any final thoughts?
No, as always, glad to be able to hop on at some point in time. Again, working on Wednesday nights and being able to watch for the first part and being able to hop on is always good. Again, folks, I'm still here. Just that right now is kind of hectic right now again with, teeth problems on top of the fact of work piling up too on Thursday. So again, Prestro will be back eventually. Just right now we have to take a bit of a small little break right now just because things in life and in work are just, a little bit helter-skelter right now. But no, please keep checking us out. Again, we got great content coming your way basically every day for the most part. And again, I'll be back very soon, though, as soon as the schedule kind of lightens up a little bit as more time goes on and we enter the next month.
All right. So thank you for that. We want to thank everybody for watching another episode of Sports Minute. And yes, we do have some more shows that we are bringing back. We're just putting the times and the days in there. Once that's back, you'll be able to catch our new shows. So with that, we hope everybody has a good night, and we'll see you next Wednesday for another episode of Sports Minute. Have a good night.